Okay, I'm Dave Waits. Welcome. Science and Cooking lecture. And of course, I'm a scientist, so I get to start telling you a little bit about science. And I'm a real scientist, so I like equations. Remember what you have to do when we see equations, right? Okay, so I'm going to introduce Chef Nok in a bit. But first, these are some of the dishes, and she'll make one of them. They look yummy. And what the lecture today and in our classes about this week is elasticity. And so, bread dough, that's a solid, right? But if you wait long enough, it sort of flows. So it's an interesting kind of solid, but it is a solid. Where's it a liquid? Actually, it's a solid. Depends on the time scale you look at it. And so that's something we'll learn about. We always have to think about time scales. What about this? This is something that rises. It's still a solid, but it rises. So how can we characterize these materials? How can we understand what the nature is? Actually, it's really important because when you bite into something, you know it's a solid if you have to chew it, right? You know it's a solid. And so that's very important. The texture of something is very important. How do we characterize that? How can we understand that? So we do it by thinking about the elasticity. So when you bite something, it's elastic. And the way you characterize elasticity is with a spring. A spring has elasticity. So if I take a spring and I put a weight on it, it goes down. And how much it goes down, the length that it goes down, depends on the force that you apply and the spring constant. The spring constant is the elasticity of the material. And that's what we want to measure. But the problem is the elasticity, the spring just depends on a force. If I have something that I chew, some dish or something like that, then the force will depend on how big it is. And we don't want that. But it's very important to understand. So the texture of something, how you chew something, depends on its springiness, depends on its elasticity. So what can you tell me about something that looks like this? Obviously, as I cook a steak more and more until it's really well done, you have to bite harder, right? It's more elastic. The elastic constant has gone up of the steak. And how can we measure that? What we do is we squeeze on it. Now, what's nice about this is I put a weight on it, and I can measure the force, but I don't want to know, I want to know something that characterizes the material, something that's a spring constant. With a spring, it's just a well-defined spring. But if I have a steak and I make it larger and larger, I have to put more and more force on it. So what I have to do is somehow talk about this in terms of something that doesn't depend on the dimensions of what you do, but depends only on the parameters, on the spring constant of the steak. So I use this equation. So it depends on the area. I divide the force by the area, and then it's just measuring something that's characteristic of the food, something that's characteristic of what I'm measuring. Similarly, I don't want to have something that just depends on the length, so I normalize it by the length that it has. Well, now, you know, we can do this. We do this in class. We do lots of times. We do all kinds of different steaks. We've done over the years, we've done cakes. We can do the same thing. We've done eggs. We've done sticky buns with Joanne Chang. But today, of course, we should do these dumplings, these flour dumplings. They're perfect flour dumplings. We could do the same thing. And you can see this is clearly elastic. As Chef Nok needs it, it's clearly elastic. So we could take one of these and we could measure the elastic constant. Okay, so before I hand it over to Chef Nok, Let me introduce her, and you might think that we invited her because her restaurant was just named one of the best 50 in the world. Or you might think that we invited her because she's North America's top female chef. But actually, we invited her because she and I did another talk in Philadelphia, and it was so much fun that we really had to have her come. So, Chef Nok.
Sawadee-ka. My turn?
Your turn.
You are done already?
I am.
Oh my God, I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting here today, people. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dr. David, Pierre, and Alex, all this team that worked really hard to bring me here. I'm very humble and honored to be here. I would like to introduce you to Will, my CDC, my chef de cuisine. Will is my chef de cuisine. He is everything at Kalaya. I am just the pretty face. So we're taking care of day-to-day operation, making everything sure that everything goes smoothly and quality that being upheld to the highest standard. And let's talk about dumplings. So, gluten never been part of Thai cuisine because soy sauce that come to Thailand is part of Chinese culture. So at the old day, we just eat rice, and that's it. We don't have noodles, we don't have bread, we don't have roti. That's the other culture that we adopted much later. So these dumplings, like I said, is not 100 years old recipes. This is the new recipes that been developed, I would say less than 70 years ago. But at first, it started in the palace because it's very intricate. And this is a kind of, not something that people can produce in the restaurant. So I would say that Kalaya is the only restaurant that been producing at least 600 to 800 dumplings every day. I know, I have a big restaurant. Once, there was a joke. I told my mother that I'm going to the restaurant tonight. My mother is in Thailand. I told her that I'm going to the restaurant tonight because we have over 350 people coming to my restaurant tonight. She asked me, do you have a restaurant or you have a theater? Because, coming from a small village, the only place that can fit more than 100 people is the theater. So that's how my mother could picture my restaurant is like a movie theater. But anyway, back to the dumplings. So, and at Kalaya, we do not use food coloring. Everything we use natural colors. So this dumpling, we use butterfly peas flour to create the purple colors. And so we start by boiling this dumpling, no, not dumpling, sorry. These butterfly peas flours in hot water. And then we steep it for at least 10-15 minutes until it gets to the color that we want. That's cool thing about this flour. If you add tiny bit of lime juice, it changes color. Acidity make this blue flour change color to purple. You add more, it could turn pink. So, and one thing that I love about this flour, because we have a big butterfly peas flour bush, in front of our house in my hometown in Trang. And people always ride their motorbike and come and ask my mother for, for some flour every day. We eat it raw, we eat it with our relish, we put it in our rice salad. And for the baby that born with no hair, we mush them in water and then we just, just put it all over their bald head, poor baby. And then and then we use the fresh flour and we draw the brown line too. But all of you here, it's too late to do anything like that. So please do not do it. Don't take my word for it. But if you're gonna do it to your baby, don't mention my name. I'm a quack, I'm not a scientist. Oh my God. I don't know whether this is demonstration or stand up, but anyway, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So first of all, before we make the dumplings, we have 4 different kinds of flour. They're all gluten-free. Rice flour, arrowroot, tapioca starch, and glutinous rice. Coming from Thailand and moving to America, we don't have the luxuries of having the best ingredients. So this ingredient, it takes me a lot of time to develop and figure it out. How to store it, how to make it look, how to make it stable, how to make them soft and delicious. So don't steal my recipe, please. Oh, and if you really like what you saw today, I have cookbook. And I have Kalayya Southern Thai cookbook, but I don't share this recipe with you. But we have another kind of dumpling that you can make it at home. Not like I underestimate your talent, but please start with that first. So first, we just mix everything in here. The guy in orange, that guy, you. Why are you laughing? Is it a lot of fun? I'm looking at you, yes. I'm serious here. We are cooking, it's supposed to be serious. So then I mix everything here together. Once when the dry ingredients mix well together, we need fat. So we need coconut milk. Just add it in. And a little bit of oil. And maybe Dr. David can tell you why this is working, not me. We just mix everything together until they all combine. And I am going to add only half of this water in here. Now you can see how this is boiling, and we're going to steam it. I'm going to add only half of this in the bowl, in this fancy, beautiful bowl, and just mix them together. And now time to get my hand dirty. But today I'm wearing this fancy apron, so I don't have to worry about my dress gonna get dirty. Enjoy this, guys. I normally don't wear apron. David make me. So this is how we create the elasticity and the soft mouthfeel. This is the first part. We are going to need this, and this is the Thai technique that we developed, and we use this in all of our dumpling recipes because everything at Kalayya, like I said, is gluten-free. We're just gonna keep kneading it until they're soft in my hand. We're gonna knead it until they kind of soft and come together. As you can see, now it's super soft. Now we're gonna put them back in here, and we're gonna add the rest of the liquid. And don't ask me why I do this, I saw it from YouTube. No, no. I went to YouTube University. So now we are going to make it liquidify again. This is part of the technique that we use to make sure that everything will hold together. And this is the process that you cannot rush because you just have to mix it together slowly. And we do not use a stand mixer in our restaurant. Like I said, we still cook everything with the technique that we do in Thailand, so everything is done by hands. The dumpling team come to the restaurant at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they stay until 4:30. All they did all day is making those dumplings, make sticky rice and portion sticky rice. So you can, so you can see that how labor intensive for the Thai cooking can be. And this is why at Kalaya, I'm so proud to serve our food, how we did it in Thailand. And we are here to change the perception that Thai food should be cheap. If you walk into the Thai restaurant and you have intention of not spending more than $25 per person, I think you should forget about that. You should think again. Because cheap food is mean what? Cheap ingredients, cheap labor. We don't want that. We need to change that. I know. I should run for the mayor. Okay, now when I distract you guys enough, everything is well combined. I'm going to start cooking it. Can you see this? But before I start cooking, I need to make sure I know how to turn this on. I'm going to bring it closer to me. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So we're going to strain it to make sure there's no lump. Thank you, well. Oopsie. So, and then I'm going to start cooking it low and slow. You have to be very patient with this. You cannot rush it. It has to be slow hydration. I can't believe I used the word hydration. I heard Will say it enough time. So it has to be slow hydration. Rushing it, the result of the dough will not be so soft or tender, and it's going to crack like soon after it cools off. And this dumpling is all about precision. Not so many ingredients, but you can see that each step you need the precision to the max. And that's something that I never thought I would have in me until I start making dumplings. So you all should too. Buy the cookbook, start making dumplings. So we're gonna cook it low and slow. You can see that it starts to form a little bit on the bottom, and you cannot stop stirring. So you guys have any question why I'm trying to make this as pretty and perfect as possible? We can talk. Yes, it behaves the same way. It takes longer cooking time. The pan at the restaurant is much bigger than this. And we cook it in the kind of induction that we call it control freak. We're not talking about me, we're talking about induction. It's Breville, and we have the heat set up for them so that the team will know, like, because we have to change the heat. It depends on which step of the process.
Can I ask, how many people are on your dumpling team, as you call them?
How many will?
3 work every day, but we have 6 people in total who rotate throughout the week.
And the good thing about dumpling team is it's such a happy place. It's very quiet and super calm on that table. It's so, I love my prep team. Going in there during the day is calm. And then after 2 o'clock, it's just like, okay. By the time we're getting ready to open the restaurant, it's very different pace, different vibe.
When this goes back to when you were first kneading the dough.
Yes?
I'm accustomed to working.
I can't really hear you. Where are you? Here. Hi.
Hi. I'm accustomed to working with bread dough. What were you looking for in terms of texture or feel when you did your?
It is the same, but we're not going to look for the film or elasticity. We're just going to look for the texture that is soft to touch. And it's kind of like, it's hard because we have to knead this. I'm going to knead this while it's still very hot until it's cool in my hands. So you see now it's getting closer to be done, and I have to lower the heat. Next question.
Hi,
Hello.
I have a question over here.
I have an answer.
Okay, I hope. When we were watching the video, you seem to have added eggs to the mixture. Is this a different thing?
Sorry?
When we were watching a video, it was also purple, but I thought I saw eggs in
No,
there.
we don't do eggs.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's the canola oil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who taught you this recipe?
Me.
May I ask also what inspired you to open a restaurant and
I
cook?
told you I'm a genius. No, YouTube, that was a joke. When I first came, I love this dumpling since I was in Thailand. But you know, I was a flight attendant before, and I never have time to stay home or cook because, you know, I was working and traveling a lot. I was a flight attendant for like 19 years, actually. And so when I came to America, I went to culinary school. And we have the project called Menu Project, that we have to do food course, and the dish we have to do 5 courses. I hated it. And but I always want to make this dumpling, so I bought a cookbook. And there was this dumpling recipe, and I followed that. And when I first made it, I did not even have this tweezel. So I pinched it by hand at my Menu Project. And that recipe sucked. And that guy is so famous. I don't know how would someone who is that famous be so irresponsibility. And I went to eat at this restaurant once. I asked my friend, like, shall I tell him? And they were like, no, we come here a lot, please don't do it. So I hold my tongue, which is very unusual for me. But, you know, since either I get older, I became more famous, I've been more polite. So now, this is the fun part, okay? This is when we have to start kneading them. Why they are hot? Anybody want to help me do it? It's really hot, yes? No, you can keep talking to me. No.
Oh, hi.
Hi,
Over here.
yes.
Okay, so I see what you're doing with the flour mixture, and you're hydrating it in a pan over heat. So I know that there's a similar technique when you're making like milk bread or something with like the tangjong method.
I can't really hear you. Why people here speak so softly?
I am so sorry. So you're hydrating the flour mixture over
Yes.
heat, I'm seeing. And I know there's a similar method when you're making milk bread, like using the tangjong method.
Yeah.
Where
It's
you're
tangsong. It's tangsong. Yeah.
Tangjong, okay.
Yeah.
Or like choux pastry as well. I know those are glutinous mixtures, right? As opposed to you're just working with like rice flours and arrowroot here. Maybe this is a science question, but like is what's happening there like on I guess on a smaller level similar to what's happening here hydration-wise, or does it just kind of look similar?
David, I think that's your answer. That's your department.
Sorry, thanks.
I mean, you're mixing, you're kneading it together. The gluten tends to keep it stringy. Here, it's just the texture of what she's doing that giving it the same texture. So you don't need gluten to hold it together. You can do it with what she's doing. The addition of water and the drying it out is just mixing it together and then making it form the solid-like structure. And that just has to do with the interactions among all the granules of the flour or whatever's inside of it.
Just the heated portion of it, though, is what I'm asking specifically.
So you can see that it is it's like have very good elasticity. And hot.
Hi, I'm
Hello.
over to the right. I promise I won't ask you for your actual recipe, but of the flour, the types of flour that you added, what do each of them bring to the table, or why do you add more of one versus the other?
Each one of them have different elasticity component. So this is why we have to mix them together. Like rice flour doesn't have any elasticity at all. So we need to add the other flour that have different kind of elasticity to blend them together. Yeah, and this, because I'm no scientist, I cannot tell you what make, them, how they work together. But I know by figuring it out, like, I will use different ratio of flour, and I just keep cooking, keep making it, put it in the fridge, and see how it's cracked, and then figure it out. Like during pandemic, we have, and when we reopened the restaurant, I didn't close, when in 2021, we have problem of the dough very dry, because that's, is the time that we have problem about our rice importer in Thailand. We have the rice problem, it's political involved. But anyway, they have a high stock of old rice. So they turned that into rice flour. So that, in the result, our dough was cracked really bad. So I have to change the recipes. And that's the recipe that we still use until now.
Do you change it on a time-to-time basis? If it's
Not anymore. Right now it's quite stable because we cook everything. Every step is very precise from how we make it, how we treat the dough, and until to the point that how we steam it. We steam it in combi oven, and we have the setting for that. So now it's already cool enough in my hands. We are going to make the dumplings. Where's my filling? And the filling, so this dough will get divided into 8 grams. 8 grams, right, Will? Yes. 8 grams. And the filling is 6. This is how much I know about my life nowadays. I am so good. Look, it's 9. I grew up in the market. I'm so proud that I helped my mother use the scale since I was little. So, I may not have a lot of precision about other stuff, but this, I'm okay. There we go. So I need a little bit of bench flour. What flour is that? This is tapioca. And our filling has to be cooked. This filling is made with chicken. So it's been cooking down with, we use ground chicken, and we caramelize it with palm sugar, fish sauce, a lot of black pepper and white pepper, because where I come from, we use a lot of pepper. So my food is very peppery. And it's the luxurious that we pack that much of flavor in one bite. Like, when you eat hamburger, half a pound of meat, you might walk away without remembering what you ate. But, yeah. Yeah, right. But dumpling, one bite, you get a punch. I'm gonna make only 10, and whoever lucky enough will get to taste that. Otherwise, you have just to take the train to Kalaya and pray that you can get reservations, because I'm very cool. I know. Humble is not in my dictionary. When I was a housewife, I still am a housewife. I like being a housewife. It's really cool. You all should try that. Will, can I have the steamer, please? Yeah. So I always told myself that I am a big fan of myself. I always told Steve, whenever I make any good food, I was like, honey, I'm such a big fan of myself. And Steve said, lucky you have a fan. Right now I have a huge fan. And I'm telling that to myself too. So I'm going to start making dumpling. Is my hands okay? You guys can see it? the dough being cooked perfect. I just make it like a couple hundred times, that's all. Perfect. I told the team that it's harder for me now to make dumplings because I'm wearing multifocal contact lens, so the focus is kind of off. So we have two kinds of dumplings in the restaurant. We have bird and we have flowers. I cannot make bird dumpling nowadays. I can't see, I'm half blind. But this, I can do it with my muscle memory. I can do it in my sleep, I think. I never try. Any question?
Yes,
Yes, ask.
I have another
But-
question here.
Hi.
So you mentioned that the water that you use with the butterfly pea, it changes color with the acidity. Have you experimented changing the color of the dumpling flour
No.
with acidity, or?
No, that's
You just
something
use
about
purple?
at Kalaya that we don't do it. We don't do anything like Nok doesn't want to do. It doesn't need a lot of reason. Like, I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. No, we don't try that. We do not. I want it to be deep purple. Because, I think that I read something about blue food that is not appetite, whatever. People pay $5 a piece for this. You are welcome.
Hello, I had a question up here.
Hi.
I was curious about, I feel like this is really loud, sorry guys. I had a question about earlier when you were cooking the mixture on the stovetop.
Yes.
And you said you wanted to have it be a really low temperature. Is that, I guess, kind of have two questions wrapped up in here. Is that because you're concerned at all about scorching any of the ingredients? Or is it more so you need to give the ingredients time to meld together, but then also you want to be able to see as you're working it, like it's a very kind of delicate process of knowing, oh, this is just, just kind of experientially, this is done. Like this is the right point to move on to the next step.
Yeah, I'm not worried about squash the ingredients because even if squash a little bit, once when you need it, it's come together. But it's more about the precision of how we control the temperature, and it's come with practice that I know, which stage that I could move on to the higher heat or lower heat. When can I stop? When should I add more heat? Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yes.
So how do you navigate or balance being creative and versus being authentic?
Where are you? I can't hear you, sorry.
I'm right here.
I know, I can see you, but I can't hear you.
So my question is, how do you navigate or how do you balance being creative versus being authentic to
There's no
Thai
balance.
food?
Who told you about work-life balance? They lie to you. They teach you to be lazy. And don't do that. There's no balance. Creativity comes from getting out there, spinning your brain, put your work in, and then you keep being creative. Like I said, work-life balance is not real. It's a cult.
So do you try to stay true to what Thai food is like in Thailand, or do you try to be different that the restaurant is in America?
I'm never try to be different, but my food is different. I did not even try. When you try too hard, it's tiring. Just be yourself, know what you are doing, stick with your plan. And, and I did not aim for the success. I aim for authentic Thai food. I aim to perfect my craft. I am obsessive compulsive. For me, there is no balance. My balance is just, 5 minutes that I get to sit down, have a good cup of coffee, and that's how I balance my life. I can find joy for 5 and 10 minutes, and that gives me enough, to move on and to get out there and to pursue what I want to do. Running a restaurant is not easy. Running Kalaya is totally it's against every book that they ever teach about how to run the restaurant, especially Thai restaurant. So by that being said, it's come with a lot of hard work. And it's a lot of hours, a lot of tears, a lot of sweat. I still cry many enough time when people say bad thing about my food. I cry when I could enjoy my success. But that's all happened because I make it happen. And I convince people, I persuade them to understand about my food, about my mission, about where Thai food should be. So very confident, I'm overconfident sometimes, but this is, I think I'm at the right place. My food is better than so many food in Thailand. And that's, I know, laugh now, cry later, when you go to Thailand and eat the food. Because, you know, our challenge is we don't have our hands on the best ingredient. We're making Thai food in America. I make my curry paste, we make our curry paste from scratch with frozen galangal, frozen lemongrass. But yet, my curries, my goat curry, every curry at Kalaya is tastier than any curry that you can find in Thailand. I could guarantee you that. Why? Because I cook it with the memories. I cook it with the memories of my childhood. That's the flavor that people were eating in my hometown when I was young. And that kind of flavors is being forgotten. People tend to move on to Western food, to fast food, because you know they saw that on social media, or because it's cool to eat KFC or pizza, not curries and relish, that the one that you have when you walk in anymore. But at Kalaya, we preserve all of that memories. We celebrate our culture, we celebrate our food. We do it in the way that we're not compromising anything, and that's what we've been doing. So that being said, I'm gonna do my last dumpling so we can move on to steam. Thank you. Question?
Hi.
Yes?
Hello, sorry.
Go ahead.
What would you say is like the soul of the dumpling? So anyone can follow a recipe and try to make a good dumpling, but what makes a great one? What's the soul of
What made a great dumpling?
Yeah.
Whatever dumpling that you make with love is great. The first one may not be the best, but when the second one is getting better, and when you make 1,000 or 10,000 like mine, your dumpling will be the best. Practice make perfect. And home-cooked food always the best because you put a lot of hard work and love into it. You have to care about what you do, right? Okay. We are going to steam this beauty. Where's the camera? Yeah. Okay, and before we steam it, at Kalaya, we normally use water spray to wash all of the bench flour off. But today I don't have water. I'm gonna spray it with oil, which is also work well. Trust me, I tried more. And we're gonna steam it for 5 minutes, or could be longer because this is the kind of steamer that we never use. Questions?
Do you ever seek inspiration from other cuisines or techniques of cooking from other parts of the world? Do you experiment with those or take inspiration from them?
Not with Thai food. I started travel the world since in 1991, when I moved to Kuwait to be a flight attendant. And 1994, I moved back to Thai Airways. And for over 20 years of traveling the world, food is always my passion. So I spend a lot of time in the restaurant, travel all over for food. But for Thai food, when I create the recipes, I don't look at cookbook. I don't read anybody's cookbook. I don't even read my own cookbook. Because, you know, by the time I'm home, I'm always tired. But the inspiration that we have at Kalaya is the food I want to eat, the food that I want to see people eat. And that's what we do. and also come from the conversation, because right now we are 3 years in at the new restaurant. I listen to my team, my sous chef team especially, see what they want to make, what they want to see on the menu. And that's how we do it at our restaurant. But I still travel for food. I still get inspired from the other chef. You know, I went to so many restaurants to, like, repeatedly, just to see how they do things and use that in our restaurant, but not for food. Yes?
Hi. My perception is that culinary training in the US, or broadly, like most often, is pretty influenced by Western European cooking techniques. Do you ever find that to be a challenge when you're trying to hire chefs at your restaurant? And do any of those techniques ever seem to cause friction with, you know, some of these more traditional Thai techniques that you want to share?
Will, you want to tell? You want to answer? Will tell that, yeah. Will say that better than me.
Yes. It's a lot of learning, especially with learning how curries work, is a lot of opposite of French technique. French technique, you never want to break a sauce. You never want to cook the fat out of something. And we intentionally try and do that. Every curry needs to have a fat sheen on top, an oil sheen on top. That's what carries the aroma and the spice and the flavor. So there is a lot of like, no, don't do that. Like, just let it go, let that break. And then the other thing is the habit of Western saute cooks shaking pans on burners, which which is a huge no-no in the restaurant because you want to stir, you only stir. So there's a learning curve, but generally the best way to hire someone for the kitchen is, well, I think like anything in life, someone with the best attitude who really wants to learn outside of, you know, it doesn't take necessarily going to culinary school to be an excellent cook, an excellent chef. I never went to culinary school, and I get to work for Chef Nok at one of the best restaurants in the country. So I think just having the desire to do the best that you can and learn as much as possible is the best way.
So now our dumpling is done. We're going to plate it. Hi.
Hi. I was saying the butterfly flower creates such a striking color. Are there other ingredients that you use in your recipes that also create beautiful colors such as that, or nice contrasts in your food?
Yes, we do. We use pandan. We use a lot of pandan leaf in our cooking. So we put pandan in the food processor or Vitamix, and then we bliss it on high, and we strain it. We take we just use the water, pandan water, and that's our green food coloring.
Okay, so maybe we can thank Chef Nok again.